Hello, everyone. Welcome to this pre-recorded family chat. I am Nate. I am the president and executive director of Kids of Grace Academy, and this is my lovely wife, Heidi. She is our program coordinator, and we are going to answer your questions that we've collected through emails and online and conversations. And our desire is to give some real answers pre-recorded. That way we can kind of just get through them. We eventually hope to have a live Q&A where we can answer your questions in real time, but we have enough of them now where we can kind of get ahead of it before we get are able to book that time to do the live Q&A. So we're gonna try to answer the questions as best we can, and there's a lot of nuance to some of these questions. So maybe looking at some follow-ups on some of these. So without further ado, Heidi's going to be reading them out, and we are going to be answering them in real time.
Okay, do families have the option of signing a student up for only the B day, or is the B day only offered if they're also signed up for rooted?
Yeah, so can you do more than can you do the B day and not do essentially the A day? And the question is yes. The answer is yes. We can do just the B day. And so when you go into register, you'll be able to click which options you want. And so they're not predicated on doing other things. You can only do the B day, you can only do electives. We're just trying to provide options and opportunities for families in this way. So you can definitely opt only for the B day.
So where are the locations going to be offered? I know that I think we put this in an email, but if you could just say where are the locations?
Yeah, so we're going to post this on the web succinctly. The locations will be Newburgh, Lake Oswego, Tualatin, Canby, and Oregon City. So we're going to lead in with 5 church campuses. And the B day option is going to be at Oregon City and Lake Oswego. Oregon City, their A day option will be Wednesday, and the B day option will be Thursday. Lake Oswego A day would be Tuesday, and B day will be Thursday. So we're going to have this all posted on the web with the details of times and locations. Some of the locations we're not sharing exactly as we're still sorting out details and they're still getting some things dialed in, but we have confirmed them. We're just going to publish the addresses and the locations in a few weeks.
Can you do just specific classes on the B day, or do you have to do all of the opt-in classes? Like, can you, for example, not do math, but do another class, but choose not to do math?
So like literature and not math, or vice versa. Yeah, we are going to try to keep it as much of a package as possible, but if you really just want to do one or not the other, we will work with you on that. That might not be as clear as you might have to contact us directly on that, but going into the registration, that can be an option. Yeah.
What day of the week will A day be on?
A day is going to fluctuate based on the church campuses. All the B days will be on Thursday, but based on the church campuses, the A days are on different days. So in Newburgh, it's going to be on Monday. On Tualatin and Lake Oswego, it's going to be Tuesday. And Oregon City and Canby, it'll be Wednesday. So I may have already answered a question there about Canby. So we are planning to do a Canby campus that will meet Wednesdays.
What day will B day be on?
All B days will be Thursday.
When will you know the location for B day classes, or where will the B day classes take place?
So the B day classes will be in Oregon City and in Lake Oswego. And again, we'll announce the actual locations of both of those locations specifically in a few weeks.
When will you post elective options and the dates and times of those?
So we are working on the electives right now. We have a few that are ready to go. We're still ironing out some details, working with the teachers on that. We are essentially going to have electives operate a little differently next year than they did this year. We're making them more tailored to the subject itself. Now, I want to specify there are 2 differences. There's academic electives and there's enrichment electives. Academic electives are going to be a lot more like Spanish and things that you would traditionally take as far as your academic schedule. The enrichment electives will be more like art or specific things within art. And the enrichment electives are going to be a little off of the academic schedule. So we might have a 6 week bread baking class or an 8 week different confection class for baking, whereas instead of a 15-week long baking class. And so we're gonna make those a little adjusted, whereas the Spanish elective will be much more on the academic schedule as usual. So we're working on dialing in those specifics right now. And so we hope, and that's part of the extension of registration, was to get those more dialed in when we open registration. Now, I will say this, not all of the electives will likely be out there when registration begins. We'll probably be adding a couple post registration, but you can always go back and register for them, and they'll be added into what you do as it is going to be April when we open registration. We might have an opening for another elective, say in early June or something like that. So, but we're looking to get as many electives out in front for when you originally register.
Are you able to choose to just do opt-in classes only and not do the core part of the A-Day, which is
Yeah.
opt-ins only?
Yeah. So you can choose as many different options as you want. If you want to only do the core programming, you can. If you don't want to do the core programming, but the two opt-ins, you can do that as well. They're not predicated on each other.
Are opt-in packages, can you register for them individually? I think you kind of just answered this, but can you do individual classes? Like I think basically what we said a minute ago, like if you wanted to do math, can you do individual, like I want to do IEW, I want to do math.
Yeah.
That's it.
So we can tailor that in. And if that becomes more of a desired option, we can make that a little more streamlined. We're trying to package them together to ensure that the teachers get full classes. But if we're getting to that spot, we can work with you on that. We want you to be where you want to be and not having to take classes you don't want to take. So that's the overall principle. But initially we're going to be leaning in on the packages for how we do classes, but we'll work with you on that.
Is the $175 a term for both of the opt-in classes, or is that just the individual price for each class?
So yeah, 175 for the track. So that's for both opt-ins together.
So is it 175 for the A day and then another 175 for B?
Yeah, so it'll be the core programming will be marked as one price. The opt-in will be marked as another. So that those will, and then the B day option will be a third opt-in. So in theory, there's three different opt-in prices, three different prices that would be condensed to one when you go to check out.
What will be covered in the current events class? Are we watching news videos for that?
So current events, we're using World Watch. It's a Christian organization that presents really well done news stories, journalism stories, and current events. It's a company that's in North Carolina, and they do a very, very tasteful job. And we subscribe to them. Now, there will be times, and they actually give you cautionary warnings that some of the stories aren't meant for small kids. And so we're going to take that accordingly. But a lot of times they're kind of the old school human interest stories, and they're really neat depictions of what's going on around the world that we want the kids to see and understand. Obviously, we're gonna take that well with the age group and appropriateness of what's being shared, but they do a good job in forewarning us as to what's coming up. But World Watch is the organization, so you feel free to check them out, and they're very credible and very Christian. So we're really excited to partner with them on that.
Yeah, and if you are a part of Kids of Grace right now, we have a subscription to them, and every family is able to watch them for the rest of the year for free. So if you haven't had been able to get access yet, email us and we can send you the info to get access to that. So you can watch it at home too, even if you want right now. They also have free videos, which are smaller portions of their daily videos for free on YouTube to watch as well.
Yeah, it's a great resource, and we're excited to open that door and use them for our daily programming.
What are the hours of opt-in classes on a day? So, like, I guess how much time would each class be? So, like IEW, how much time would that be? And then what's the next one? History, how much time?
Yeah, generally we're targeting an hour, just for the mercy sake of having kids sit for that long. Depends on the grade, obviously. As they get older, there's a longer expectation for them to be sitting. But for the grade school, it's definitely an hour, and they're going to be jam packed. So there's not going to be a lot of fluff, but they're going to be an hour, an hour or so. But they're going to be in succession with each other. So
And those start at 1.
yeah, they start at 1. So the core programming, I saw this question on there. The core programming is going to be 9 to noon. Have a lunch break, and then 1 to around 3 to 3:30. Depends on how the schedule flexes out. Will be when the opt-ins end on the mega day.
So our next question's again about electives, but I think you kind of answered that pretty much. I think it's covered. Um, let's see, is it possible to register for just one term and then not register for the next?
Yeah, we're trying to make it as seamless as possible. Given if someone moves or are unable to do the second term, so you could pay for one term, assess, and then leave, and there's no pull or need for refunds and all that. We are looking to allow for that, and but we are changing our refund policy as well, so that will be marked, and that's part of the reason for the adjustment paying per term. So, but yeah, you can do one term to start and see where it goes from there.
The next question is about state testing. Will that be offered again next year? And there's a follow-up question with that. Are we going to do that again next year?
Yeah, we plan to provide state testing and allow for students to take that advantage of that and for families to use that as a resource.
And then the follow-up question is, to what capacity do you have to be a part of COGA to be a part of state testing?
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of being part of Koga is that you will have the ability to do that. And I saw if you're just doing sports, is that considered part of Koga the same way? And that's something we're looking to more solidify and make more clear. But suffice it to say, if you are a part of Koga right now, you'll have the ability to. But it is something that we are also looking to make someone exclusive to our Koga team members or people involved in our program. But we're going to probably make it a little more clear what the boundaries of being a part of Koga look like. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, yeah, the intended purpose and use of this resource is for those who are involved in the programming.
This question is about our status as a school. Are we a school? Do families who choose to do COGA have to register like they would for a charter school or something, or can they just still register as homeschool?
Yeah, and so that's a great question. That's one we get a lot. Are we a school, and can I still be considered homeschooling if I use Koga? And frankly, up until freshman year, ninth grade, it is kind of your decision as a parent whether or not that whatever status you have. The state law, the homeschool law really has it at 50%. If you dictate we're over 50% of what you do for schooling, then we would be technically your school. Now, we're not reporting kids to the state because we're still working with parents on that. And that's pre-high school. So if you consider us your school, that's great. If you are utilizing us as a resource as you're doing your school, that's great too. And pretty much pre-high school, that's kind of the area we live in, and you can to dictate what that is. Now, post-high school, post-middle school, in freshman, sophomore, junior year of high school, senior year of high school, you're going to have to essentially assess if we're going to be writing your transcripts or if we're going to be just a resource for you at that point. And so you'll have that ability to choose at that level. And in which case, Koga would assume the role of a school for your high school. Now, again, the principles don't change. Our desire is to put parents in the driver's seat. Largely, the work will be done at home, and that principle won't change. The main difference is that we would be dictating curriculum, we'd be dictating how things are being ordered for the school, essentially. Does that answer the question, you think, pretty well?
Um, let's see. A lot of these I think you've already answered. This one's about um the price. So how first of all, how long is a term?
The term's gonna be 15 weeks, and we're gonna run 2 terms, so a 30-week year program, two terms of 15 weeks.
Okay, and then so you kind of already said this a minute ago, but let's just clarify again. It's 375 for the term, and then that's for the core, and then
Mhm.
it's 175 for the opt-in for both opt-in classes on A day
Yeah, and this is for grade
for
school.
grade school, and then B day is another 175 for the term.
I believe it was 200.
200. Okay.
Yeah.
So 375, 175, and 200 if you're doing all of it
Hmm.
per term for
Yes.
elementary.
Yes.
And along with that, if you choose, let's say you wanted to do IEW, but you don't want to do history, is it still 175?
Yeah, and that's what we'll work on. It We're looking to get the rate lower by combining both. And so it won't be as simple as cutting it in half and paying half of it. It'll be a little more than half if you're only opting for one. But we are willing to parse them out, if that makes sense, if that's what interests you. But I guess there is an incentive to do both together.
What would be the programming difference between the 2 days, the A day versus the B day?
Yeah, the A Day, the Meg A Day is going to, the core programming is going to really work very well in conjunction with general homeschool schedules. If you have a different program, say you're doing My Father's World, doing classical conversations, whatever, it's going to work well in tandem with that, meaning it's not going to cover main core subjects. It's just going to be a good programming. There's going to be recess. It's going to really mirror a lot of what we're doing this year in co-op with some adjustments. And obviously we're adding teachers and we're adding different structures here and there, but a lot of it's going to the structure is going to be very flow very similar to how it's flowing this year. The opt-in options are going to look a lot more like structured classes. There's not going to be necessarily staged recesses and stuff like that for the opt-in classes, as it's going to be kind of on the parents to be working with and doing what we're doing, seeing what we're doing and making their plans accordingly for that.
Okay, will the high school core classes be all on one day at the family center or on multiple days?
Largely on uh we're targeting Monday, Wednesday for most of the high school programming. However, there is going to be some options outside of that, as there's a lot of options for high schoolers. And to preemptively answer another question, we are not accompanying high school in necessarily with the A day. We are planning to grandfather in freshmen into the A day option for rooted intensive, but we're not going to continue providing high school resources for Mega Day. That's going to be pushed to the high school classes and the high school program, the grad track
And where will high school be meeting?
at the Lake Oswego campus.
Okay, so I think you just answered that question. There's no high school option on A day for like the mega day. There's no, not really, other
Correct.
than freshmen and
Yeah.
sophomores that have already been a part of the program.
Yeah. So we're gonna make some grandfathering exceptions, but the idea is that it is not. Yeah, and to justify that, we are giving a theology credit for completing that program, but it is not going to be something that is mainstream offered for high school at large. That's going to be largely a grandfathered in system, and we're using the freshmen also because we understand that if you're going to attend Mega Day, you may not feel comfortable leaving your freshmen at home for hours and hours. And so bringing them along, giving them something to do, I think there's value in that. So we're going to allow for that and extending that out.
Okay. I think this is probably the last question on volunteering. If you have two kids in different levels, primary and middle school next year, how would you like volunteers to function? Is it going to be like the same as this year? Or are parents, can they rotate between classes, or do they stay in one class like they did this year? How is it going to be same, different?
Yeah, that's a great question. How are we going to manage volunteers if opting for the volunteer option? How will that work? And so there's different layers to answer that question. One, to explain that, I'm going to have to go into how we're structuring it organizationally. So each campus is going to have a campus coordinator, and each classroom is going to be run by a teacher. And so the campus coordinator is going to be overseeing the events of the entire campus, whereas the teacher is going to be mainly focused in on what's happening in that classroom. And so if you are wanting to say serve in the rooted intensive with the middle schooler, you're going to be reporting to that the middle school teacher for how that will work. And if you are going to be, say, in the first and second grade class, you're going to be working with that teacher who's going to give you a list of assignments or a list of tasks to do, and you'll have a regular schedule with that teacher. That teacher's going to kind of flow with how to utilize you as a volunteer. But let's just say you say, hey, I'm a free agent. I kind of want to float, or I kind of want to help the organization at large. I don't want to necessarily be tied to a classroom. Then you would report to the campus coordinator, who would either give you tasks or put you in a classroom according to what's needed, or on it goes. And so there's two ways that would work. If you come in saying, hey, I'd love to be a preschool helper, great. We have an avenue and a place for that. You would report to the preschool teacher, and that would be kind of the end of it. If you wanted to, essentially be more of a broad helper, then you would probably work with directly the campus coordinator, if that makes sense. So it'll all shake out, and generally people will find their niche, very similar to how it's going this year. But if you would like to rotate, that's something that we would work with the teachers directly and inform the campus coordinator, but it would something that we could definitely arrange. So
Great. I think that's all the questions for now.
all right. Well, I'm sure there's gonna be plenty more questions coming. And so we will be happily answering those when they come. And again, we're hoping to get a live Q&A soon and be dropping more information. Really excited. Things are opening up. The Lord's opening doors up. And this is going to be a really, really fun 2024-25 school year. We're really excited to be partnering with you guys in that. So April 5th, registration will be up and running. So don't miss that. Get in on where you want to go, what you want to do, and we will see you here and there and everywhere. God bless you guys. Talk to you soon.